Yes, this same year.
.1 FM.
Burby's 99.5 FM. Kaieteur Radio.
Good day, welcome to your news at noon on Kaieteur Radio. I'm Kevin Smith. Making top story today, another foreign company boasts to shareholders of mega gold find in Guyana, but Guyanese still in the dark. Exxon's fifth project will sink fishing industry into deeper trouble. Take stock of rising COVID-19 numbers and act, PAHO urges. GCOM backs biometric system for voting to formally make proposal to Attorney General today, and opposition leader. In a visit to Little Africa, residents complain about poor conditions of roads and drainage. Russia-Ukraine war, a wake-up call to press for renewables. UN Secretary General calls on governments and financial institutions to step up. DPP discontinues racial assault charge against attorney at law. And GCCI tells government to demand from Trinidad and Tobago removal of non-tariffs and don't sign any memorandum of understanding with Trinidad. Stay tuned to stay informed.
Experience more than award-winning speed.
Way more.
Get the best that LTE has to offer on Digicel, officially the fastest mobile network in Guyana. Ookla, the company behind Speedtest, recognizes Digicel as the best mobile network in Guyana. With the best LTE experience and the fastest data speeds, experience it all with Digicel. Better together.
And now for the news in detail. Canadian mining company Golden Shield Resources Inc. on Tuesday boasted on its website in a release to its shareholders that the results of its drilling activities in Guyana have yielded significant results. To date, the Ministry of Natural Resources is yet to make a formal announcement as it relates to the drill result from an initial hole of a 13-hole 3,000-meter program at the Mazua Hill, the most advanced of 8 prospects at the company's flagship. Golden Shield Resources was founded by experienced professionals who were convinced that there are gold mines yet to be found in Guyana. The company is said to be well-financed and has 3 wholly controlled high-grade gold projects: Marudi Mountain, Arakaka, and Fish Creek. Notably, this information and others have only been made public by way of the company making announcements to its shareholders and not by the government of Guyana, the elected leaders that are expected to manage the country's resources. Meanwhile, ESSO has in its project summary conceded that the project will, in addition to emitting additional greenhouse gases into the atmosphere, but can possibly decimate not only the fishing industry, but could potentially impact beaches, mangroves, and wetlands as wildlife habitats. As such, according to the company, throughout the life of the project, there will be a continued threat to Guyana's environment and marine habitat in the unplanned event, such as an oil spill. This much is contained in the project summary for the oil company's 5th project in Guyana's Uaru, which will likely also incorporate the Mako location into its operations. In outlining the potential impacts of the project, it was first noted that the air quality climate generally will be impacted. It was noted too that the project has the potential to affect marine geology and sediments along the project development area. And I'll tell you, GCOM commissioners are supporting the use of a biometric system to assist with transparency when it comes to voting at elections. The representatives of both the government as well as the opposition have agreed that the use of the technological system would greatly help in preventing many inconsistencies raised during the voting process at elections. As such, the matter could be up for discussion when GCOM meets with the Attorney General, Anil Nandlal, at his chambers today. Among the issues that the GCOM team wishes to highlight are those relating to the use of a biometric system, a comprehensive review of GCOM following the 2020 elections, and possibly the collating of elections laws into one comprehensive document. The global energy system is broken and bringing us ever closer to climate catastrophe. Fossil fuels are a dead end, environmentally and economically. The war in Ukraine and its immediate effects on energy prices is yet another wake-up call. The only sustainable future is a renewable one. This was the clarion call made yesterday by United Nations Secretary General Antonio Guterres. His calls come at a time when Guyana, despite the direction of the world as it relates to the development of energy sources, is still pressing ahead with a project to cost in excess of $1 billion, namely the Gas to Shore Energy Initiative. Governments, according to Guterres, must also build frameworks and reform bureaucracies to level the playing field for renewables. This, since, in many countries, these systems still favor deadly fossil fuels. And I'll just tell you, Director of Public Prosecution Shalimar Ali Haq has discontinued the charge against Attorney-at-Law Nirvan Singh, son of former Chancellor of the Judiciary Karl Singh, who was recently charged for using racial slurs towards an Afro-Guyanese policewoman, Shawnit Ballers, who was tasked with guarding his residence. He had pleaded not guilty to the charge, which stated that on March 20th, by means of words spoken by him in a public place, willfully excited and or attempted to excite hostility and ill will against Ballers on the ground of her race as an Afro-Guyanese by using words directed to her and published by him. Chief Magistrate McLennan had granted bail in the sum of $100,000 and ordered the lawyer not to make contact or cause anyone to make contact with Ballers. The matter was then adjourned to yesterday's date. Instead of the matter continuing, the magistrate received a letter from the DPP that discontinued the matter. In response to the DPP's action, Attorney-at-Law U.C. Anderson, who is representing the policewoman, issued a statement in which it was stated that the matter will go as far as the Caribbean Court of Justice. And in other news, the Georgetown Chamber of Commerce and Industry is urging the government against the signing of a Memorandum of Understanding with Trinidad and Tobago until the Twin Island nation removes its non-tariff embargo that is preventing Guyanese businesses from exporting produce to that country. The GCCI said in a press statement that it is aware of the government of Guyana's intention to establish and sign a Memorandum of Understanding with the government of Trinidad and Tobago, but is not in support of the move. Trinidad and Tobago's Prime Minister, Dr. Keith Rowley, and members of his cabinet arrived in Guyana on Tuesday for the 5-day Agri-Investment Forum and Expo at the Arthur Chang Conference Center. The conference will see numerous regional heads of governments and members of their cabinets, international agencies, banks, and other financial institutions coming together to find ways to invest and develop the region's agricultural sector to reduce CARICOM's food import bill by 25% by 2025. This sum amounts to the removal of a $6 billion food import reduction in the next 3 years. Many partnerships, MOUs, and other collaborative connections are expected to be made. The time has now moved on to 12 hours 13 in Guyana. We will resume after the break.
This is GHK Lal inviting you to join me weekdays from Monday to Friday on the National Outlook for commentary on a range of issues. Immediately after the 12 noon and 7 p.m. newscasts on Kaieteur Radio at 99.1 FM and 99.5 FM. Looking forward to you sharing in the conversation.
Guyana is now a full-fledged oil-producing nation. But how much do you know about this valuable yet finite resource? On our radio program, Guyana's Oil and You, we strike at the heart of every issue with informed views and credible data. The time is now for you to arm yourself with insightful knowledge on your oil wealth.
Welcome back. Let us continue with the news. After receiving reports that Little Africa, a community located in Karivaton Berbice, Region 6, has been neglected by the government, opposition leader Aubrey Norton decided to visit the residents on Wednesday. Norton was accompanied by chairman of the PNCR, Sherwin Holder, and other officials of the party. Upon his arrival at the village, Norton said he was taken aback by the poor condition of the roads within the community and its poor drainage system. In a cell phone recorded video, Norton heard complaints by residents about poor drainage, and the roads are also very terrible. Although the road and the drainage system are a major concern for the residents, some of them pleaded with the opposition leader to assist them in finding jobs with a wage that is sufficient enough to take care of their children's needs in a country where cost of living is on the rise. And now let's tell you, juveniles will now be charged and tried jointly with adults for indictable matters in the criminal justice system. This was made possible after the Juvenile Justice Amendment Bill 2022 was passed in the National Assembly on Wednesday. Presenting the new bill in Parliament was the Minister of Home Affairs, Robson Ben. Although opposition member of Parliament, particularly Kemrad Ramjatan, disagreed with the amendment to charge juveniles between ages 14 and 18 jointly with adults, the new law was still passed with a majority vote. Ben, while presenting the bill to the House, explained that one reason for the amending of Section 3BI of the Principal Juvenile Act is to reduce the time it takes a judge or magistrate to hear a matter where a juvenile committed a crime with an adult or adults. Ben pointed out that it can only be employed by a magistrate or judge if they adhere to all of the other rights of the juveniles catered for in the Juvenile Justice Act. Some of these rights are keeping their identity discreet and the type of sentencing they receive for a crime they were convicted of. In other news, with the recent increase in COVID-19 infections recorded over the past week, cases in the month of May have now surpassed the total recorded for the entire months of March and April. According to the Ministry of Health, data from May 1st to 17th, a total of 538 persons have tested positive for the virus, while in March, some 312 persons contracted the virus and approximately 224 contracted the virus last month. Meanwhile, the ministry on Wednesday revealed that within the last 24-hour period, a total of 94 cases have been recorded in the country. The cases, which now bring the total number of confirmed cases to 64,020, were detected in Region 4, which recorded 62 new infections, Region 6, which recorded 19, Region 3, which recorded 10, and Region 10, which recorded 2, and Region 9, which recorded 1. And as cases of COVID-19 rise sharply throughout the region by 27.2% over the past week, the Pan American Health Organization Director Carissa Etienne has called on countries to take action to increase surveillance, public health measures, and vaccination, and to make sure that systems are prepared to cope with a potential influx of COVID-19 cases. Following a period of lower transmission, the PAHO director highlighted that many countries have abandoned public health measures such as mask wearing and social distancing. But with only 14 of the 51 countries and territories in the Americas reaching the World Health Organization goal of 70% vaccination coverage, far too many people remain unprotected. And as usual, we wrap things up with the page 7 of today's Kaieteur News. Shameless Chronicle. The Guyana Chronicle has become a national embarrassment. It is the view of many that the Guyana Chronicle serves no useful purpose other than duplicating content being produced by the Department of Public Information. In fact, the DPI, Guyana Times, Newsroom, MTV, and all the other PPP surrogate news entities individually and collectively are doing a far greater, more professional job in selling the government than the Guyana Chronicle. It seems as though even government ministers do not sit down to give interviews to the newspaper. Its choice of lead story earlier this week, Gas to Shore project could save Guyana $653 billion, quoting the so-called well-known finance professional and business analyst Joel Bagundin, is nothing more than rank propaganda. This sliminess of such an article demonstrates how low the government and others would go to hoodwink the nation. Imagine, this finance professional sees profit without knowing the present cost to set up the project, doesn't know the price the gas is going to cost Guyana to the plant, but this financial fella already know you're making profit. The project would have further ongoing costs that we don't know as yet, when they have to move from one oil platform out there to another, from Liza 1 to Liza 2. Despite all of this, the so-called Nation's newspaper made these cheap comments into a lead story selling to a country. As the state newspaper, the Guyana Chronicle has had its issues over the years, but to allow itself to be used and abused in such a manner to deceive this nation with a fake story is almost criminal. No wonder the reporters want the editor-in-chief, Tejram Mohabir, removed. And that brings us to the end of today's News at Noon. I'm Kevin Smith. Thank you for listening.
Want value for your advertising dollar? Then place your ads on Kaieteur Radio's newscasts. Streamed live on 6 different mediums, reaching hundreds of thousands. Advertise today and watch your dollar grow. Call us on 225-8465